Well, greetings Rotax race fans and welcome to the season opener for the 2024 Rotax Max Challenge Latvia. Well, we're at Kandavar for the first of 6 rounds this season, which will take us all the way through to the 20th and 21st of September as the road to Sarno begins in the Baltic region right here, right now. Well, you might remember this voice. It's Alex Goldschmidt here for just the Friday. I'm otherwise engaged over the course this weekend, but tomorrow you will have the dulcet tones of Chris Buxton over the course of tomorrow's racing. But today, it's when the real road begins. It's 25 degrees Celsius at the moment with a breeze of around 13 miles an hour. And we are very shortly going to be getting underway with time qualifying. Humidity around 54%. We've got just north of 85 drivers, including all of the Rotax classes, as well as Tillotson T4, who will also be competing for a prize opportunity to race at Valencia in the second weekend of September at the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero for the T4 Nations Cup 2024. It's been a hive of activity over the course of the weekend so far. Drivers have been putting in a lot of laps here around this circuit, based around 90 kilometers west of the capital city of Riga, spans just over 1,000 meters, and is going to provide a very, very stern test. Of course, shirts or skins when it comes to football in a playground. The funny thing is, I'm really looking forward to being back with this championship. Also, we will have the legend, the man, the myth himself, Henry Baudet, joining us over the course of the season. I'll be back for round 2 at Smeltene in the penultimate weekend of June. But we have Micromax, Minimax, Junior Max, Senior Max, Max DD2, DD2 Max Masters. We'll also have our amateur classes out, which includes DD2 Masters and Heavy, and then we'll also have the Tillotson T4 Latvian contingent out on circuit. A big thank you as always to the marshalling crews that help us every single weekend. So for those wanting a little bit of a jolt in the ribs about what the calendar's looking like this year, well, this is the first of 6 rounds for the Rotax Max Latvia Challenge. Also, we have the Latvian Karting Cup, which spans 5 rounds, the Latvian Karting Championship that also spans 5 rounds. So Kandavar is the season opener here. Smeltene, 21st to the 22nd of June. Then 333 Baltic in Ropatsi will host round 3 in the midway point of the season, the 9th and the 10th of August. And then a week later, well, round 4 will also host the 3rd and final round of the Rotax Nordic Challenge. Jelgava hosts the penultimate round of the season on the 13th and the 14th of September, and the rescheduled race that was set to take place in early July at Madonna will now take place on the 20th and the 21st of September, and will be the place when we will crown our 2024 Rotax Max Challenge Latvia champions. And of course, this is open to those drivers that represent the Baltic region, such as Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. We do have quite a few drivers. Of course, the Rotax Max Challenge Nordic season gets underway at Drift and Go in just a week's time in Šiauliai. And I'm looking forward to being there in person. It is going to be a very, very busy season for a lot of drivers, and quite a lot of familiar faces that you will recognise from this neck of the woods in Eastern Europe. We are going to have all drivers out for their 5-minute time qualifying sessions. We'll then go into the first barrage of heats this afternoon before the second set of heats. The pre-finals and the finals will take place tomorrow. And of course, joining our team at No Limits for the first time this season. We don't know if it's going to be his first. We know it's his first time, but Chris Buxton will be on the microphone. Unfortunately, neither of us can be there. But get well soon, Henry Baudet. He's feeling a bit under the weather at the moment. But a big thank you to Yanis Karasjuks and his team at the Latvian Automobile Federation for getting everything shipshape and Bristol fashion. And really good to see the paddock a hive of activity. We do have our Micromax drivers going out first, so we have not just the standalone class, but also the fact of the amateurs. So we have championships within championships, and sometimes that can be a little bit confusing from time to time. But now we get underway with our first timed qualifying session here at Kandava as the Micromax drivers make their way out onto the circuit. We do have a total of 7 drivers that will make their way around the circuit here. 1,000, or just over 1,000 meters, 1,012. So 5 minutes on the timer as we speak. So once the drivers cross the timing beam, of course, we've got new graphics for 2024. A little bit of a great effort by Edgars and the team at No Limits, who again will be rejoining us for the entirety of the 2024 Rotax Max Challenge Latvia season. And for some drivers, this is where it's going to be really a case in point. You can see the very fast sweeping right-hander that brings them onto the very short start-finish straight. As Torrens, Juozaitis, Lapins, Os, Kriausiunas and Bernardson's 6 drivers out, as we will be getting the racing underway at 5:15 local time here. So if you are watching from continental Europe, you're an hour behind. If you're from the United Kingdom, you're 2 hours behind. So we will get an indication very, very shortly on what the lap times will be. So this is where it's going to be very, very crucial indeed on track management. Of course, the temperature's 25 degrees Celsius in the air, which means probably north of 33 degrees Celsius out on track. So the the beam gets broken, and Emilis Juozaitis goes in with a 50.327 in the number 17 entry. Martins Lapins in the number 69, 27 thousandths slower. Kalis Bernardsons, Remigius Kriausiunas, Rodrigo Torrens and Ivo Os round out the 6 strong Micromax drivers that are out on the circuit. Their first heat that will take place at 5:15 local time will be 6 minutes plus an additional lap. And we'll also have the same for the Minimax contingent, who will be out for their qualifying session at around about 18 minutes past the hour. So halfway through the session, the driver's just trying to build some pace. Lapin's looking to get a little bit of a slingshot, and Juozaitis breaks the beam and goes under 50 seconds. Kriausiunas responds and goes over 0.2 of a second quicker on a 49.632. And the top 5 rounded out by the number 77 of Rodrigo Torrens, covered by just over 8.5 of a second. So it's going to come down to crunch time. This will set the grid for Heat 1 later on today. But plenty of racing action to keep you all entertained over the course of this 2024 season. And it's a real pleasure to be back with you all. Looking forward to being with you at Smilton, as I said, for round 2 in the penultimate weekend of June. Juozaitis goes up to P2, 45 thousandths slower, but new fastest lap time in the session, provisional pole, just over a minute and 20 to go. Carlos Bernssons, number 3, puts in a 49.485. And it is very close. 8/10 cover the top 5. Ivo Oss in the number 58, best effort so far, 51.728. Don't forget, if you are watching on the Rotax Max Latvia channel, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell, and then we'll let you know directly via your smartphone, tablet, personal computer or laptop that we are live. So coming down to the final 45 seconds of this opening qualifying session of the season, and it's another improvement by Carlos Bernssons in the number 3, 49.463. Emilis still about just under a 10.5 behind. Klaus Jonas a further 16 thousandths off as we're into the last 30 seconds of this qualifying session here at Kandava. The only trip that will make to this circuit this season. So good to see the regular haunts on the calendar. 2 visits to Ropatsi Novas this season as the timer counts down to 0. 5 minutes have elapsed, and let's see if anyone makes an improvement. Juozaitis goes top by 44 thousandths of a second. And that looks to be that the number 17 has just secured the opening pole position of the season, the MRG racing driver. Doing a pretty sterling job there on the number 17. So Emilis Juozaitis takes provisional pole in Micromax for the first race of the year. Carlos Bernssons in second, 44 thousandths adrift. Top 4 covered by 96 thousandths, courtesy of the number 69 of Martins Lapins on the Paralin, with Remigius Kliausiunas in the number 99 representing Lithuania, also with the MRG racing crew, covered by 96 thousandths. Rodrigo Tarins 0.676 off of pole was the number 77, and Ivo Oss manages to improve with a personal best of a 51.247. So of course all the results that will be called by myself and Chris Buxton over the course of the next day and a half will be provisional, pending sporting and technical checks. There are your provisional qualification results for Micromax. Emilis Juozaitis from Lithuania takes pole position by just 44 thousandths of a second, ahead of Carlos Bernssons, Martins Lapins, Remigius Kliausiunas, Rodrigo Taurins, and Ivo Oss. Next up, it is our Minimax drivers. Quite a few here this weekend, 13 in total, as they are all ready and chomping at the bit to get out there and go out on circuit. It's another new circuit for me to commentate on. The same will be said of Smiltene this year, but having also last year been given the call by Yanis Karajuks to come out to Madona because he needed a commentator. And I went, yeah, sure, no problem. And well, here we are in 2024, and the relationship is very, very strong. We've got a lot of respect for Yanis and his wife Yana. Obviously, they've, in the recent months, they've had a new addition to the family. And very shortly, things will get underway for time qualifying. At the front of the pack is Rodrigo Karkas, the RM Latvia driver in the 153. Also, GS Racing Club's Patrikas Jokius, who has been travelling quite a lot this year. The youngster who represented Lithuania at the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals last year in Bahrain. Of course, this year, the Grand Finals head to the international circuit at Sarno for the 25th anniversary of the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals. So, green flag waves, and the timer starts ticking. 5 minutes to go in this session. And I think one driver might have just had a little bit of a whoopsie. Just went off circuit, but Rodrigo Karkas is the first driver to be out there, followed by quite a few drivers, a few energy chassis Energy Corsa chassis now frequenting the grid. So really interesting to see this final corner here at Kandava. A lot of banking to the left-hand side as the drivers cross the line. Now this is going to be the interesting development here, because as soon as they come out of the pits, they will get effectively a warm-up lap. So it will take time away from the drivers. Nevertheless, it also means that there's an opportunity to warm up the Mojo tyres underneath them. Of course, 125cc of displacement, cubic centimetres that is, of these Rotax Max Evo engines. Of course, new cylinder heads have come into effect through the Rotax Max Challenge global technical regulations. And good to hear from Patrikas' mum Rasa on the YouTube chat. Good to hear from you. Go Patrikas, love you, mum. Big heart emoji. We love that kind of. Those kind of comments in the chat. And as I say that, Patrikas Yokius is leading the way. 46.896. Jack Collinson in the number 191, who is also has British heritage, hence the name. He's gone second quickest. Majus Mazinas, a regular in these parts and also internationally P3 at the moment. Rodrigo Kakas, Juris Pluxner, Klaus Hans, Martin Streiber, Alex Menezes, Mikko Grantins, Marco Plinta, Dominic Stargis, Marks Kononovs and Keita Spike round out the 13-strong Minimax field that we have here, as Rodrigo Kakas ends up jumping up to second, but then it all changes again. Top three covered by 3 100s. So Mazinas now fastest, 46.867, ahead of Jack Collinson, 26 thousandths back, with Patrikas Jokius running at the top three, 29 thousandths off of Mazinas. Driver goes up to P5 ahead of Plinta, and it is a very competitive field. Top 11 covered by just over 9 tenths. So we're 3/5 of the way through this qualifying session, and it is going to be the case of who can put their best foot forward. You really want to get yourself off to a good start in the season opener. Of course, the drivers have been busy training hard, getting themselves physically and mentally prepared for the season ahead. And one of the best ways of training is to actually go into race competitions, which I've seen Patrikas doing a lot of racing this year, and that's even before this season has gotten underway. So still waiting for times to change. Jack Collinson, first driver to dip underneath 46.8 seconds. The 191 goes in with the 46.773. Mazinas drops down into second ahead of Kakaros. Jokius now fourth. And Klaus Hans now fifth. Moves up ahead of Marco Plinta. Mikko Grantins also makes a personal best and goes seventh ahead of Menezes. Dreiber, Pluxner ran at the top 10, covered by just over 6 tenths. We are coming down to what is more than likely going to be either their last push lap, or they might get the opportunity for one more. If they cross the line within 15 seconds of the checkered flag going out, they'll be able to make it work. The top 11, well, at one point it was over 9 tenths of a second. It's now 3/4 of a second, as the timer counts down to 0 here at Kandava. It's wonderful to see all the paddock awnings looking resplendent at the moment. There's Patrikas Jokius going through the opening corner. Very tight left-hand hairpin, and then through, you can just see, trying to position his body in the right way, just to keep the purchase of the Mojo tyres underneath him. But in the minute, well, Jokius is the fastest one out there. Checkered flag is out for the session. And a couple of drivers going a little bit wide, but we'll see if there may be any improvements. So Patrikas Jokius by 33 thousandths, well, might further still improve, because once the checkered flag waves, there's a full course yellow implementation. But the drivers still have an opportunity, if they've crossed the line before checkered flag falls, then they've got every right to do so. And, well, as I say that, Patrinikas Jokius goes even quicker still. 46.211 for the 125 for GS Racing Club. Majos Mazinas, son of Mikolas Mazinas, who we have seen in some great battles over the years, rounds out the top two. Jack Collinson in P3 ahead of Rodrigo Kakras. Top three covered by 0.274 of a second. Kakras fourth, Klavs Hans fifth on a 46.902 best effort. Mikkel Grantins, Marco Plinta, Martin Straibe, Alex Menezes, all those 9 drivers got underneath 47 seconds. Juris Pluxner rounds out the top 10, ahead of Dominik Stargis, Mark Skononovs, and Keita Spike, rounding out the 13 strong. So next up we'll have our junior drivers out on circuit. One is not present because one driver is actually where I'm currently situated at the moment. I'm actually commentating from Karting de Fang in Marienborg in Belgium. Well, Tom Strela is competing in the championship for the B&L Karting Series and has opted to race here. But it is going to be, for those wondering about RMC Nordic next week at Drift and Go in Chalet, weather's going to be good, bumper entries. Big thank you to Martin Stankiewicz for keeping me informed. But juniors are up next, 13 of them. So looking through, we have got a couple of drivers that have moved up. Adrian Tions last year was a Minimax driver, now moves up to juniors. I think also Maris Karsiaukas from the Lithuanian Birol Art Squad, run by Martina Stankiewicz, I think has also moved up. Roland Spruder has been there. Yeah, well, it is going to be a case of seeing what happens. There's Adrian Tions still running with the team at MRG Racing on the Gillard chassis. Of course, MRG Racing, we might see a couple of their drivers in the Max DD2 class a little bit later on, which will include Thomas Birstins, and the bromance continues between him and Patrick Snolls Lochmelis. So, green flag waves at the end of the pit lane as the drivers are released onto this circuit. So, as you can see, still plenty of sunshine. I really, I'm gonna say something here that I don't normally. You know, there's places that you visit on travels, and Latvia is definitely one that I've come to appreciate. So, same with Lithuania. All I'm going to say is, you know, all I can say, Ragnar Viris, is when is my invite happening for Estonia? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. But we are going to have a very interesting qualifying session. Of course, Alisa Stolchamani, the younger sister of Tomas Stolchamanis, who is running in F4 these days, is back in the junior thick of the action. Had her fair share of trials and tribulations, let's say, last year, but an ultra competitive younger sibling to Stolchamanis, who has gone on, and I'm sure that with Alisa's prowess, we could see her as a very, very good talent to watch in the months and the years to come. So, waiting for the first lap times to come in here at Kandava for the junior Rotax division. And, well, Timus Peserica goes top of the timesheets, 44.775, 31 thousandths ahead of Adrian Tions. And then it is Roland Spruder in third. In the Stolchamani has set the fastest time at the moment. Ottilia Granberger, unfortunately, having a big drama backwards coming out of the entrance into the opening corner. Adrian Tions goes top by 64 thousandths of a second on his final push lap here at Kandava. But with all 12 drivers, again, this is going to be quite close, but Adrian's Tions takes provisional pole position in his first outing as a junior here in the championship by 64 thousandths of a second ahead of Alisa Stolchamani. Aloysius Sekavicius rounds out the top three ahead of Martins Valls, Marius Karsiaukas, Gabriel Moises, Hans Markus Narusk, Timus Peserica, Roland Sprudes, then we've got Andres Dorofeyevs with Richard Rikstins and Ottilia Gramberger rounding out the 12 strong. So from the junior Rotax class, of course, the recovery vehicle is now out for the 212 of Gramberger, I would imagine, who's probably more than likely just been pulled over to a safe spot off of the racing line. And that cart will then be taken through to scrutineering. There are the senior drivers, of which we're due to have 15 compete. And I also recognise a certain Harolage, Oscar Zawicki in the number 389. We've also got the likes of Romans Rodionovs, Oliver Kerg, Marta Spike, Ilya Sheremetov, who keeps on liking all my stories on Instagram at the moment. Carles Kirikovs, Tonis Johannes Dominguez, Sebastian Adari, Bruno Perle, Kate Drobiseva, amongst others. So again, Kirikovs, one driver moving up from juniors last year. So we are going to be very shortly getting underway with the 4th out of 8 qualifying sessions here at Kandava. Of course, for those wondering, where can you find the results? Where there is a new app called Sportity, and it is available on both iOS and Android. And then you should also be able to find out the actual. It is detailed. It's the event password is RML. That's so standing for Rotax Max Latvia 2024. That is basically to download the app on your. You can get all the results, penalties that have been issued, or supplementary bulletins that can be provided over the course of a race weekend. So well done to Adrian's Tions on that effort in time qualifying. So green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid, and straight away Tonis Johannes Dominguez from the Jogisu Kardi Club from Estonia is the first driver to head out onto the circuit. So now it's going to be a case of with the Mojo D5s, D5 CIKs now being used. This will provide more grip, more performance, but also may drop off in terms of degradation over qualifying. Of course, the drivers have a limited amount of sets. Looks like we have. Oh yes, we've got our first red flag of the meeting. So first red flag here at Kandava, and this is in the senior Rotax qualifying session, and that is at 42 seconds elapsed of this session, which well, it means that the session has already been stopped before it even got started here today. So everyone's just already seen by the what's been happening, but not too sure if someone might have had a little bit of an incident and thereby the red flag being brought out. But Okay, so looks like there was a... Yeah, so the reason why I've just been informed is probably because of the recovery vehicle not being in the correct position. So it is gonna be a full yellow, full red flag condition. So everyone that was released out of the dummy grid, so it looks like the recovery vehicle was not back in position, and so they are going to line everybody up. And you can see there's a lot of gesticulation from the drivers if to say, what the devil is going on? Now, of course, the main primary function of the race director and the marshals is safety. Now, the drivers can throw their toys out of the pram as much as they like, but safety is paramount. That is, you know, everyone, when they sign a form to go racing, they know motorsport is dangerous. And I think it's a very due diligent call that if a recovery vehicle was not in the correct position or whatever, and it was not safe to have released those drivers, they've reacted to the situation. But that's from what I've been informed by our broadcast director at No Limits. Big thank you to Edgars and his team who are on site. So, well, I in some respects I can understand the frustration, but I can also see the bigger picture. Now, if you don't see the bigger picture, so everyone's going to be lining up. And what they have all done is they've got their tyres up to temperature. So the field gets released from the start-finish, well, the starting grid. So it looks like they have reset the session. Completely the right call. You know, it's, yes, tempers will flare. And it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Time to put your best foot forward, boys and girls. Because if we thought the junior qualifying session was close, this is set to be an absolute cracker. So Tonis Johannes Tomingas from Estonia is going to be the first one to set a lap time, having crossed the stripe first of all. So we are now close to a minute in the session completed. Tomingas gets the head who was also competing at Karting Genk earlier on this year. Didn't have the opportunity to catch up with her, but also when we had a race at Ropaci Novas at the 333 Baltic circuit, a fantastic layout on that one. But we're now going to see the lap times coming in. 43.014 by Tomingas. Stop racing, kids. Stop it. I think one of them was Carlos Kirikops, who has just gone 5th quickest. Tonis Johannes Tomingas, 43.014. Response in kind. Atiom Sestikov, 42.748 for Atioms, another one of the drivers with MRG Racing. Ilya Sheremetha, Bruno Perlet, Oliver Kirk. Okay, Tomingas now goes 3rd, Marta Spike 4th, Kate Drobiseva currently at 13th at the moment. So there are going to be changes afoot in the next 2.5 minutes plus change as drivers jockey for position. Especially coming out of that final corner, and then straight away. We've got to consider about the fact that it's a very short run down to turn 1, and this also gives the drivers the opportunity to push harder. Artyom Sestikov's now quickest, 42.585. Sheremetyev, Dominguez, Joipera, Perla, Spike, Kirikov's, Danilevskis and Rodionovs ran out the top 10, covered by half a second. Sebastian Adari, Oscar Savitsky, Kate Robiseva. 8th ahead of Kirikov's. Richard Skikuris, Noyer Sheraraitis and Petri Konstins. 15 drivers covered by 8/10, and we've still got 90 seconds to go in this timed qualifying session. So at the minute, waiting for changes. Savitsky goes 11th. Kirikov's and Adari stay 9th and 12th respectively. So waiting for further improvement from some drivers. Bruno Perla jumps up from 5th to 2nd. 5.85 and into the final 60 seconds. So they might get 2 laps and a push if you're lucky. With the final 10 seconds now showing into prominence what we could have in the offing, because the top 15 covered by 8/10 of a second. Adari stays 12th. Sestikov still currently leading the way, but the checkered flag is out for this session. Sestikov's bests everybody with a 42.585. Berger ends up third as he decides to dive bomb up the inside of Marta's, I think it was Kate Robiseva or Marta Spike, but it's going to be the final push unless the drivers start going into pit lane. Looks like quite a lot of action still to happen, but Artyom Sestikov's takes provisional pole by 0.134 of a second ahead of Bruno Perla, Ilya Sheremetyev, Johannes Dominguez, Romans Rodinos, Kasper Joipera. Good effort by Marta Spike, less than 3/10 off of pole in 8th, ahead of Kalis Kirikovs, Artus Danilevskis. Oscar Savitsky might be a little bit frustrated for being outside of the top 10, maybe the same for Sebastian Adari. Kate Robiseva 13th, Richard Skikulis, Noyer Sheraraitis, and Petris Krasins rounding out the 16 strong. Top 15 covered by just over 8/10 of a second. Very, very close qualifying session. Next up, we've got Max DD2. This is where you see the real heavy hitters come out to play. And again, just some really, really good drivers, really good quality caliber drivers. The Baltic region really does provide some great talents. You know, you look at the likes of Renis Nitis, you know, someone who's raced in World RX, Euro RX, but has also turned his hand through the Palanga race that normally happens every year, which is 1,000 kilometers. And Nitish was actually on a circuit, you know. So there is such a great length and breadth of different talents that come from the Baltic regions, and well, the green flag has waved, so the timer has started counting down already. And yeah, you got Martin Janovskis, Rikas Vegvargas, Elmas Mikkelsen, Edgars Vilkans, Norris Stenebergs, Andres Upkalp from Estonia. Watching from get tagged on his Instagram story very, very soon, but he said he's going to be back in action next week. Of course, it has been a very, very busy time of getting ready for racing, but straight away, the mind game's happening here. They've got to be at full racing speed here in qualifying. Go for it. So already a minute has elapsed in this DD2 session. Now we'll also have our amateur DD2, DD2 Masters and DD2 Heavies as drivers coming across the line on their... Well, lap time has come in for Ricardo Vargas, a 42.609. Jean Zemis goes... So we are just waiting for the timing to update, so we'll see Vilkans, Beresins, Danebergs, Mikkelsen, and lap times coming very soon, I'm sure. They might have just decided, well, you know what, we're going to hang fire, we're just going to keep a little bit more tread on these tyres. Well, Thomas Beresins bursts the initial lap times of a 42.604 out of the water with a 4.2.141. Edgar Vilkans second at the moment, 0.162 behind. Patrick Snolls, Losh Melis. Bergs round out the top six, covered by, well, and then you've got Madsen Janovskis. Less than 4/10. And these drivers race each other on a regular basis, so you would expect it to be very, very close. Now the slipstream is mighty down here, even though you might get a quick run out of the final corner, as we've just seen that demonstrated by Losh Melis in the 4.8. So just under 2 minutes to go, and Janovskis now. The 4.22 from Latvia with the and then the top five rounded out by Norrisbergs, covered by just over a tenth, and then it down to Losh Melis. This could be one of the closest qualifying sessions we've had all day so far. Top five covered by 0.101 of a second. Losh Melis now goes within just over 2/10 of Janovskis' time, as we're coming down to a minute and 15 on the time left to go in qualifying. The respective lengths of the heats for all the other classes apart from Micro and Minimax are 7 minutes plus an additional lap. So if you are watching, thank you for joining us. Please give us a little indication in the chat who you are supporting this weekend here at the season opener. Right, a couple of drivers have decided to come in early. One of which I noticed was a Sodi kart. So I think the Vilkans and Danebergs might have just pitted in early. Danebergs, oh right, now that could be Almars Mikkelsen's in the number 471, which it is. But sometimes with these amateur DD2 Masters, amateur DD2 Heat, they'll have a 5-minute qualifying season coming up. So check it is out for the session, as the eerie calm of hardly any noise around the track sort of just blankets the whole location. Martin Janovskis takes provisional pole in DD2 by 38 thousandths of a second ahead of Thomas Beresins. Ricardo Vargas takes third ahead of Edgars Vilkans, with Norris Danebergs rounding out the top five, covered by a tenth. Christian Zemis, Patrick Snolls, Losh Melis, Andres Upkalp and Elmars Mikkelsens round out the finishing order. 9 drivers in all, top 8 covered by just over 0.21 of a second. So next up we have DD2 Masters. Very shortly about to head out onto this circuit, just over 1 kilometre in length, and has its own fair share of twists and turns to challenge all drivers. But drivers like a challenge, believe you me. So we have some of the usual suspects. Mikolas Mazinas, Pritsai from AGS Racing on the Cosmic chassis representing Estonia. Harold Gargalis makes a return to the seats. Normally I'm talking to him when he's a team boss or a mechanic, and now he's back behind the wheel. He kept that one quiet. Rikas Kaln seems on the Birolot also there. Maxim Shaposhnikov and Mikolas Mazinas also part of this grid. So whistle blows and green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid as the 5 minutes start counting down. Here at Kandava for this qualifying session. Up next we'll have DD2 Masters. So Emilis Juazaitis in the meantime has been confirmed as the pole sitter for Micromax. I'll keep you updated as and when I know about results coming in by the Sportacy app. It's an app I actually first started using at the MENA Karting Championship Nations Cup last year in Losail. Now is being embraced by quite a few other championships, including this one. So 6 Masters out in total. Harold Skarka in the 523, Jurazolaitis in the 511, 577, and Mikolas Martinas. We've also got another couple of drivers as well, which includes Martin Sorolis in the 515 for RM Latvia, and Pritsai, who I just mentioned a moment ago, but waiting for the first lap times to come in on the board after about 1.5 minutes. Gargalis goes quickest, 42.668, ahead of Countings by nearly 3/10. Pritsai now jumps to the top of the tree. And 3-second lap time. Also, just having the results confirmed, no further penalties were issued post Minimax qualifying, so Patrikos Jokias is confirmed as the Minimax pole sitter for the opening round of the season. Rikas Kalnseems goes P3 on that particular occasion on a 42.946. There's Mikolas Mazinas, always on a trusty Praga by IPK chassis. Pritsai Gargalis is doing a pretty good job. Before he set that lap time, Plitsai was exactly the same the same amount faster than Gargalis on that particular occasion. So 42.498 is the time to beat by the 508, the Latvian driver. Jurisolitis currently 7th. Top 6 rounded off by RM Latvia's Ivaris Us on the Sodi car. 8/10 off the pole from session. So you tell me, will Gargalis hold on to that pole position? Someone steal the thunder away from the 508 in the dying seconds? I've seen it before where pole positions have been decided on the final push lap. And someone is happy, someone is not quite content with what has transpired. So that's part and parcel of racing. Also getting some more results in. Juniors have just come through. No further penalties issued. No penalties issued. Adrian Stion's pips at least it's not Shimani by 64 thousandths of a second for Junior Rotax pole. As we're heading into the final 40 seconds. That's a sign of things to come there. As Marcus, well, that was the Shaposhnikov being passed by Mazinas. But Gargalis still leads the way by 85 thousandths ahead of Plitsai. Ricards Kalnsims, Mikolas Mazinas. And I can also now confirm that Artyom Sestakov has been declared the pole sitter for seniors. Checkered flag out for masters. Well, Harold Gargalis, you haven't lost your touch, my good man. Puts in a 42.498, 85 thousandths ahead of Plitsai from Estonia, the 519 with AGS Racing. Ricards Kalnsims, third ahead of Mikolas Mazinas from Lithuania. Ivars Rus rounding out the top 5, covered by 6.5 tenths of a second after that 5-minute qualifying session. Martins Rollis, Jurisolitis, Maxim Shaposhnikov rounding out the 8 strong, covered by just over 1.25 seconds. Well, we have 2 more qualifying sessions to go. Up next, we'll have the amateur DD2, DD2 Masters and Heavies before we head to Tillotson T4. Now we go back to qualifying as the amateur DD2, DD2 Masters and the heavy class now head out onto the circuit. So we are just waiting for the first few drivers to cross the line. They'll have that warm-up lap as customary before they really start pushing. So we are 90 seconds in, just waiting for a lap time to appear and give us an indication of what these drivers are going to be doing in terms of the limits of adhesion on their karts. So after 2 laps in qualifying, the 593 of Roman Balans puts down a marker of a 43.880, 3.5 tenths quicker than Marcus Spikius, move up to 3rd and 4th respectively, ahead of Azos, Rico Frams, Malis Lochmelis and Dimitris Antunovic. Antunovic round out the 9 strong. Top 5 rounded out by 8 tenths as we are past the halfway point of this session. Padans has a personal best and expanded the lead in terms of the race to pole position, 43.880. Tenths of a second quicker than Zusovics. But as we've seen in previous qualifying sessions, things can change on a sixpence. That was the case in point in juniors, that was the case in point in seniors. Could something happen here in the amateur classes? So the DD2 Heavy, DD2 Masters and the DD2 all effectively amateur level. I would probably say it's more like gentleman and lady, as in sort of like those people that don't always go out racing every single weekend. They want to partake, they want to have some fun along with that. But Roman Spadans is leading the way. No one has gotten to within 3.5 tenths. The closest is Zusovics as we head into the final 30 seconds of this qualifying session. We are coming down to the inevitable conclusion of someone having to wave the checkered flag. So the checkered flag is out, and what's more, Rodrigo Frams in the number 421 has gone top. Is anyone going to depose the 421 from that well-deserved provisional pole position? So Padans takes pole in that race provisionally by 73 thousandths of a second. Did that ahead of Romans, well, it was Romans Padans, Edmunds Zusevics, Markus Spikis, Aids Os, Martin Spikis, Kristaps Kalixons, Maris Lochmelis, and Dimitris Antunovics round out the 9 strong. We've got one more class to go before we head into the racing. And of course, earlier on, just a few weeks ago in early April, Tillotson celebrated in style thanks to the help of IPK Praga with regards to the way that it looks. So, qualifying now underway for Tillotson T4, and the timer is counting down. And we'll go on to the first set of heats. And Harold Gargalis has been confirmed as your pole sitter for the opening round of the season. So Tillotson T4. Same chassis, same engine. It's a 4-stroke, so it makes a completely different noise from a Rotax engine. But it is also pack racing involved with all of this. And again, even in this class, it can be so competitive on how everything goes. So the 991 of Harris Gludkins puts down a marker of a 50.435. Daniel Spectris Berzins, Elisabeth Johan Zulce, David Salmans, Christopher Kaune, Daci Grossberger, and Rudolf Toms Berzins round out the 8 strong drivers, covered by just under 1.1 seconds. Pack racing or close quarter encounters with your competitors is a hallmark of this class. I think if I remember correctly, 225 cc 4-stroke engines. Zulce now goes top, 50.213, ahead of Zalmans by 91 thousandths. Berzins rounds up the top 3, covered by a 10th. 2 tenths cover the top 4, courtesy of Harris Gladkins in the 991. Dacia Grossberger in the 929 covers the top 5 by just over 6 tenths of a second. One individual who will remain nameless, because I don't know if I can bring myself to say something about it, and then something goes completely and utterly horribly wrong. So Elisabetta Johan Solce leading the way, 50.213. David Salmons 50.304. Across the line they go again. Bertesins goes top, 49.911, and goes quicker than Gladkins by just 12 thousandths of a second. Elisabetta Solce and David Salmons have just set exactly the same lap time, 49.998. Is there a psychic connection that those two have got that we don't know anything about? You know, if Tillotson T4 are with us at round 2 in Smeltener, I'll be quite interested to find out. Well, time is coming rapidly to an end in this qualifying session, and then we'll get underway with the heats very shortly. But the drivers coming across the line, let's see. Does Salmons improve? No. Gladkins goes third after Zorchi went quicker by 7 thousandths. Top 4, this is how incredibly close it is, folks. 18 thousandths of a second. That is why I like one make series. It always gives you and also you can work on it, as in you drivers out there. So time hits 0. Bertesins still holds on to that pole position with Zulce, Gladkins, Salmons, Kaune, Bertesins, Grossberger and Reynolds. They come across the line. Zulce goes top. No, Christophers Kaune goes top at the death. 49.667, 49.761 for Daniels Petris Bertesins, Elisabetta Johan Solce, 49.838, 61 thousandths away from getting a gold star on for that particular woman. Hannes Gladkins 4th, David Salmons 5th, Rudolfs Toms Bertesins, Dacia Grossberger and Kress Maris Revels, Ores Maris Revels. Lee rounds out the 8 strong. That's time qualifying in the bags, folks. But coming up, we've got 8 opening heats for all of the classes coming up right now, because it looks like they have just released, or they will do very shortly, they will release the Micromax drivers to go into battle for 6 minutes plus an additional lap. So qualifying is times are for show, points are to go. So it's where the heats are that you really need to start getting on your A game. So the drivers are lined up, as they will very shortly be sent on their way around this just north of it, well, just over 1,102 meters, if I'm very not much mistaken. Finally, the wait is over. It's time to get the racing action underway. Well and truly here at Rotax Max Challenge Latvia. This here is your starting order for the grid for Heat 1 for Micromax. Emilis Shuazaitis will start from pole position in the number 17. New graphics as well means that we've also been able to get some pictures of the drivers for you to see them without their race helmets on. Martins Lapins will be on the inside of Rodel and get themselves ready, poised and anticipating the race start. That's something very crucial you need to learn with your So, into the tram lines we go. Revs rise. And looks like we have gotten underway. Oh, storming move up the inside by Martins Lapins, who went from third to first by the exit of the first corner. So, Lapins doing a great job. Uazaitis in second, Benson's third. Kriausiunas, Torrens and Os all round out the top six. As this could be an opportunity for Lapins to get through, maybe. So, with just over 5 minutes remaining in this race, plus an additional lap, it's anyone's guess as to what could happen between the top four. One person makes a wrong move, someone else capitalizes on it. You make a mistake, yeah, well, that's all what it is. But now, this is a really, really good battle heating up between Juazaitis, Lapins and Kriausiunas. The timer is still counting down. We're at 1 minute and 20 elapsed, just under 4 minutes and 4 minutes and 40 plus an additional lap still to go. And now there could be a possible change. Kriausiunas was looking up the inside of Lapins, but after the opening lap, the opening 2 laps of this race, Juazaitis does lead by just over 0.26 of a second, ahead of Martins Lapins. Remigius Kriausiunas brings up the rear of the the podium, so to speak. The top 3 in third on a it's just gone half a tenth slower than Lapins on that one. 49. Lapins, Kriausiunas 49.772. These 6 drivers covered by just over 3.5. But this battle just really starting to intensify a little bit. But this could be the opportunity that Kriausiunas looks for, and got it all wrong through that first corner. So Kriausiunas tried the dive bomb up the inside of turn 1 on Martins Lapins, set the fastest lap of the race in the process, but then just lost all that momentum. Just went in for the move, must have clobbered the curbs a little bit with left into the side of Kriausiunas, and Kriausiunas said, well, I'll take that all the way to the bank. Thank you very much, I needed that. But Juazaitis, having led after the opening, what is now 4 laps. His lead is nearly 7/10 of a second ahead of Martins Lapins, Kalis Bernssons, Remigius Kriausiunas, Rodrigo Taurins and Ivo Os completing the 6 strong. We still have just under half of this race to go, plus that elusive additional lap that is very, very crucial. Strike whilst the iron is hot, and go and do it. Just don't hesitate, don't stay behind. If you feel that you're faster than the person in front, you'll walk faster than them. Coming up to the final minute and 50 seconds, plus 1 additional lap. With the field very much split out, this is just a first taster course. You know, where you have, like, say, you go to an enoteca, an Italian restaurant. The first thing they'll do is they'll bring out some antipasta. So they'll bring out bread, they'll bring out onions, pickles, little bits of cheese, little bit of bits of meat just to tide yourself over with. But we have got, just coming up to the 50-second mark remaining. Drivers did complete lap 6 well before time was due to expire. On this particular occasion, Kliausiunas does have a Carlos Benson's Remigius Kliausiunas, and also Mr. I just like to sit there with a beer and a cigarette, Mr. Bart, or Mr. Bar. Perfect idea. But we are waiting for the checkered flag to come out, and waiting for our race winner to put one up on Armand Hamilton. They've been battling all season long. Anthony Jones does not get it. So, Emilis Urzaitis takes the win in that by just over 2.85 seconds. Martins Lapins, Carlos Berensons, Remigius Kliausiunas, Rodrigo Taurins and Ivo Os round out the finishing order, and everyone completed all the 9 laps of racing. So, time for Heat 1 for Minimax, and here is your starting grid. Well, it's an all-Lithuanian front row, courtesy of Patrikas Jokius and Majus Mazinas. Jack Collinson and Rodrigo Kakas round out row number 2. Klaus Hans and Mikkel Glantins round out row 3, with Marco Plinter, Spike rounding out the 13 strong grid. A lot of the drivers, well, you will see these new graphics all the way through this season, and it's great to see the amount of hard work that Edgar's and the team at No Limits have done. They're now going to go onto their formation lap ahead of 6 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. Very rapid fire heats, and it's always nice to see that there are going to be some very, very good races over the course of the weekend. So the drivers now are in formation. So it is Jokius and Mazinas on the front row. They're controlling the pace. As, ladies and gentlemen, out of the final corner, revs rise into the tram lines. Are we underway? Yes, we are. The green flag waves. Jokius looks up the inside to take the keep the race lead, but runs a little bit wide coming out of the opening corner. Looks like Jack Collinson has managed to make his way up into second position in the 191. Has gotten ahead of Marius Mazinas on the Paralin chassis. Then it's the 153 of Rodrigo Garcia that happens to P4 as they head into the infield for the first time of asking, and already Mazinas is opening up a 4 to 6 kart length lead. Mazinas breathing down the back of the race overalls of Jack Collinson as they go up the hill now into this right hand sweeper that then brings them onto the left hand sweeper that brings them onto the right, that brings them onto the start finish straight. And after the opening lap, Patrikos Jokius has a lead. And it's nearly 5.5 tenths of a second after the opening lap ahead of Jack Collinson, who is still being pressurised by Marius Mazinas. He gets his head down into the next left-hander. Collinson being closely followed by Rodrigo Cacas in the 1.53. So this battle here is going to start picking up some pace. Could also be an additional bit of heat brought into the kitchen. As they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, it's 25 degrees over in Kandahar, so I'm sure that some people will be cooking like grilled, you know, being cooked like at the moment, you know. But coming up to just under 4 minutes to go, plus that additional lap. Jokius leads. Collinson trying to chase him down in second. Mazinas in third. So all the drivers are still circulating. However, there's a dive up the inside. That was the 110 on the 169. Marco Plinter on Klaus Hans, and Klaus Hans unfortunately runs wide coming out of turn number 1. Puts him into the clutches of other drivers behind as the timer continues to tick down. Meantime, Mazinas battling away with Collinson. Very much holding his nerve and just being resilient at the minute. But because of the fact that Collinson and Mazinas are not quite fighting yet, they're closing in on Patrikos Jokius here on lap number 3. Gap between the top 3 after the opening 2 laps was about 1.1 seconds. It's now less than 9.5 tenths. And across the line again, Jokius' lead now expands. It's now 1.3 seconds from first to third. A little bit further back, the 113 of Martin Stoliver trying to close in on Marco Plinter. That is the battle for 7th position. Plus that additional lap. Put your bets on somebody and see if that bet pays off. Entire field after the first couple of laps. Well, we just completed lap 4, now on to lap 5. Oh, I just noticed a bit of an indent on Jack Collinson's front bumper. I hope everything's okay there. Let's he's had to quickly brake and then get out of the way. It can sometimes happen. Patrikos Jokius doing a sterling job up front. Previous time around, it was fastest lap of the race, 46.505. But Collinson is looking to close that gap to Patrikos Jokius. Has got a little bit of daylight between himself and Marius Mazinas. You can hear the Mojo D2 CIK tyres really being put through the ringer here in Kandahar. The air temperature in the meantime has climbed to 27 degrees. Mikkel Grantins and Marco Plinter line astern. That is the battle that really is going to keep us captivated as Marco Plinter goes up the inside. There's a little bit of a clash between Plinter and Grantins, and Grantins holds his nerve, holds his resolve and says, right, you're not getting past me. You've got to do decided to join the party. But next time around we will get the final lap board. Patrikos Jokius has been keeping Jack Collington at bay. So with the final lap very much underway, Patrikos Jokius has done exactly what he's needed to do so far. But will Jack Collington get the better of the 125 from the GS Racing Club? Going to head down to the far end of the circuit for the final time. But it is going to be a little bit of a change here because Jack Collington picks up the win by just over 2/10. So did Patrikos Jokius make a little bit of a mistake there? Just having a look back at the footage. Well, Jokius bumped over the curbs, ran wide, and Collington was looking for the move, timed it nicely and did the old Nigel Mansell tummy up the inside through the penultimate corner of the circuit, winning by just over 2/10 of a second. Ahead of Patrikos Jokius, Majus Mazinas, Rodrigo Kakas, Marco Plinter, Martin Streiber, Mikkel Grantins, Juris Plusner, Klav Hans and Alex Menezes ran at the top 10. Dominic Stargis, Gator Spike, Marco Veveris and Marks Kononovs rounding out the 14 strong. All drivers finishing the 9 laps of racing, covered by just over 21.1 seconds. So next up is the first heat for Junior Rotax, and here is your starting grid. Adrian's Tions will be on the front row and starts from pole position, joined by the 235 of Elisa Stolchamani. Aloisa Sekovicius and Martin Vox. Round out row 3 with Hans Markus Narusk and Tomias Petty. And up is Domofeyevs. Round out the top 10 with Rikard Ristins and Ottilia Granberger rounding out the 12-strong grid. So, from this point on, the heats for the rest of the classes will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap here at Kandavar, and a big thank you to everyone joining us on our YouTube channel. Big thank you to have you all along for the ride. It is going to be 7 minutes plus an additional lap. After this, we'll then go to Senior Rotax for their first heat, DD2, DD2 Masters, then Amateur DD2, DD2 Masters, After this, we'll then go to Senior Rotax for their first heat, DD2, DD2 Masters, then Amateur DD2, DD2 Masters, DD2 Heavy, and then Tillotson T4. Drivers being informed to slow. Also, Christopher Skalnir taking pole position for Tillotson T4. The drivers now will go past the points of no return lap. Oh, well, that is Granberger on the sidelines, I'm afraid. Tions leads from Stolchamani. Karasiaukas in third. Stolchamani not waiting around at all. Little bit of an impatience, I sense, in her driving style at the moment for Elisa, but she also put in the fastest lap of the race. 4:0, so Tions, first year as a junior, as someone who has been in the category for at least a couple of years and has shown really good pace. Met Elisa at Chauley at Drift and Go for the first round of Nordic last year. Wonderful little young lady, and really looking forward to seeing what happens there. However, looks like Roland Spruder got past Hans Markus Narusk coming through the final left-hander as the top 3 starting to close on in. Karasiaukas, new fastest lap of the race, 44.311 for the 273 as they go on to the backstretch. And then into the far part of the circuit before heading into this interesting section, up an incline, over the crest, and then down the hill, and then it sweeps around. A bit like Coram at Snetterton. But Tions lead. Oh, well, mistake there from Elisa Stolchamani, and Marius Karasiaukas is battling Adrian's Tions for the race lead, going through into turn number 2. Now he's going to try at 3, gets through. Nice work there by the 273, but Tions comes straight back at him through the next left-hander, retakes the lead. Does the young man in the 271. Elisa Stolchamani is still in this, still holding on to that third place as they come up the hill again. Now the battling starts, the squabbling in full effect. Elisa Stolchamani gets through on Marius Karasiaukas for second place. Now this is going to open the floodgates. Behind them, Valts, Sekovicius, Moises, Narusk, and a few others. It's 1.5 seconds between the top 7. 2.3 between the top 8. So Tions has got to have his head on that rotator swivel, and he was already looking over where Elisa Stolchamani was on the Sony kart. Halfway through the race now, 3.5 minutes to go, and and out of the race. Drama for the RM Latvia driver in the Sony kart. Meantime, the 255, Hans Markus Narusk loses a place to Roland Spruder, coming out of the final corner, but disaster What a shame. Alusa Stochovan's season has gotten off to the worst possible start, and it's the opening heat of the year. Well, that has really changed over Karasiaukas of just over 0.4 of a second. Sekavicius now P3, a further 0.8 back. Valts, Moises, Narusk, Sprude, the top 7 covered by just over 2.5. It's a very quick lap around here at Kandava, around about a low 44.1. But Karasiaukas has just put in the fastest lap of the race and is less than 0.3 behind the race leader. Now Karasiaukas has already had an opportunity to get through on Tions. Tions looking over the right shoulder. Hard onto the brakes into the left-hander. You can see there's a lot of elevation changes, a lot of uphill climbs and downhill descents. But look at the battle now for third. Sekavicius, Valts, Moises, Narusk. Narusk right on the back bumper of Moises. Karasiaukas less than 2.5 of a second behind. And it's just again done. Adrien Tions still leading the way. Marius Karasiaukas is the 43.975. It's going to be close. They are going to make sure that after this one there will be 2 more laps, as it's getting a bit hot and heated under the collar. Narusk battling away with the 250 of Moises. That's for P5. So they have got this and 1 more to go. In the meantime, the 250 opens the door. Valts loses 1, not just 1, but 2 positions, as Narusk also gets through. Timer hit 0. Next time. Start tomorrow morning at around about 10:10 local time here in Kandava. But Tions is going to have to fight Karasiaukas for that victory. And Tions has just responded with his own personal best, and what's more, it's the fastest lap of the race. Gap now up between Tions and Karasiaukas to 0.3. Sekavicius in third. Valts et al. But here are our race leaders. Tions thinks he might have it under control, but sometimes it's not always the case. You see what sometimes can happen, but it is what it is. However, out of the final corner, Adrien Tions wins Heat 1 for Junior Rotax by just over 0.31 of a second, ahead of Marius Karasiaukas. Aloysius Sekavicius rounds out the top 3, a further 3 seconds behind, with Hans Markus Rusk, Martins Valts, Roland Sprude, Richard Rixin, Timons Paserica and Andres Dorofievs rounding out the 12 that did start and finish the race. Gramberger, I'm afraid, didn't make it to the start cut, was pulled over to the right hand side of the start finish straight. That puts us into our next race, as we'll be hitting the halfway point very shortly with our first and only heat of the day for Senior Rotax. So we're gearing up for our first heat for the 2024 Rotax Max Challenge Latvia season for senior Rotax. It's going to be Artyom Sestakovs in the 357 that will be lining up on pole position. Alongside will be Oliver Kerg from Estonia. We are going to have 16 drivers, 8 rows of competitors. The 30-second board has gone out as our flag marshal now will wave the green flag. And let's take you through the starting grid for Heat 1 for Senior Rotax. Artyom Sestakovs, the 357, starts from pole position. And alongside on the front row will be Oliver Kerg. Bruno Perle and Ilya Sheremetya will be on row number 2 with Tonis Johannes Tumingas and Romans Rodionovs on row 3. Devkalis Kirikovs and Arturs Danilevskis. Number 6 ahead of Kate Drobiseva, Richard Skekulis, Nuria Sherolaitis and Petris Krastins. So again, 7 minutes plus an additional lap of this 1012 meter circuit here at Kandava. So these drivers will have a little bit of a respite there. Second heat will be at 10:49 local time tomorrow morning. And this is also a bit of a precursor to next week's first round out of 3 for the Rotax Max Nordic Challenge, which will head to Šiauliai at Drift and Go in Lithuania next week. Then we'll head to Estonia, and then the 333 Baltic Circuit at Ropatsi will host the third and final round. Tickets will be also given out at that point. So the drivers are lined up, ready to go into battle as they come out of the final corner. They split, they head into the tram lines, revs rise, wait for it. Are we green? Yes, we are. Good start by Sestakovs as Oliver Kerg looks for the switch. But big incident at T1 and involved Sebastian Adari amongst others. So 3 karts involved in that one. But Sestakovs trying to pull away early doors as the 390 with Joel Kasper Jopera. In this senior Rotax division as they head through in towards the final right-hander. Look at the adverse camber to the left-hand side. It's a bit like an oval, so to speak, as they come out of the final corner. Sestakovs has a lead of nearly 0.6 of a second ahead of Oliver Kerg. Bruno Perle, Toming and Kirikovs round out the top 5. Kirikovs is the couple ahead of Jopera, Sheremetya, Spike, Rodinos, Jorolaitis, Drobiseva now up to 11th. So Arturs Danilevskis and I think Richard Skekulis. But move coming up here. That's for 3rd position. That was Tonis Johannes Tumingas and Bruno Perle. That's for P3. Perle now trying to get past the Estonian for that 3rd place. Meantime, Sestakovs is starting to pull a little bit of an advantage. Was 0.6, now 7. Sestakovs is just 42.953 seconds. We've still got just over 4.5 minutes, plus an additional lap remaining. And Perle still battling and putting pressure on Tumingas for that 3rd place. But also this could be a little bit of a strategy call from Bruno Perle. Might be looking to also close on Oliver Kerg. Now Oliver Kerg has lost a little bit of time to Tumingas and Perle as they are literally line stern going through the final left-hander before the right that brings them onto the start-finish straights, and another lap completed. Gap now between 1st and 2nd is 1.155. Marta Spike has now moved up past Romans Rodionovs into 8th place. Kate Drobiseva rounds out the top 10. So Danilevskis was that it was unfortunately cost in turn 1, lap 1 incident after the start that involved 3 karts. So Savitsky, Klastins and Kikulis ran out the 15 drivers that are still on this circuit as Tomingas really starting to put the pressure on to Oliver Kerg, his countryman, and the battle for second, third and fourth really heating up as they go through into the tight left hand here at turn 1. But this is allowing Artyom Sestakovs to pull away into the distance. It's going to be north of 1 second. 7 minute plus 1 additional lap heat. Look at the gap. It's now starting to expand greatly. A ding-dong battle, a little bit of a fight. Right, I'll see you later. See you in the morning. That gap is now expanding again. Nearly 1.5 seconds. And Sestakovs posts another fastest lap of the race. It's exactly what he needs to do. Started from pole position. Gets that initial hold. Now the thing is that Kerg and Tomingas might be countrymen, but that goes out of the window the minute you pull that visor down. It still is very much even. Second, third and fourth. So this is going to be crucial. Who's going to pull the trigger first? Who's going to blink and regret it? In this kind of competition, with how competitive the senior Rotax division is all over the globe, there are battles to be had everywhere, no matter where you decide to ply your trade and go racing. But it also takes one unforced error, one wrong move, one overexertion on the throttle pedal, one over-exuberant down press. Next time around we'll start the penultimate lap. 9 already, soon to be lap 10. And Kerg, Tomingas and Perla are hemorrhaging time. 2 laps to go. The lead now is nearly 1.8 seconds. Oliver Kerg nearly opened the door at turn number 1 on Tonis Johannes Tomingas. You can hear the birds chirping in the background there as well, folks. But, oh well. Now, that's really put him under a very, very difficult situation, because now that Bruno Perla is there, Carlos Kirikovs is also there. These two have previous, if you know what I mean. They have battled each other before. Sestakovs now has a lead going on to the final lap of 2.1 seconds and is not going to let that slide away into obscurity and lose all that hard work that the 357 has done. His last lap, 42.921 seconds. Well, it's been a mere formality for the 357, rounding out the top 10. Noya Sheralaitis, Sebastian Adari, Oskar Savitsky, Nikas Kekulis, and Petris Klastins, rounding out the 15 finishes after 11 laps. And unfortunately, well, the 354 of Arturs on that one, well, he's going to have to fight back in Heat 2 tomorrow morning. Arturs Danilevskis. Well, we're at the halfway point of the first set of heats. Next up, it's DD2. That's customary. Kids being kids in the playground. A little bit of mucking around between friends, a bit of play fighting. But we have next up our DD2 drivers, and this could also be a very ultra competitive race. Really close qualifying session earlier on this afternoon, as the 30-second board has been shown. So, green flag waves. Here's your starting grid for DD2 Heat 1. Martin Janowskis and Thomas Birstins round out the front row with Janowskis on pole. Rickard Vargas will be joined by Edgars Velkans on row 2. Norris Stenbergs and Christian Emis, row 3. Patrick Snolls, Lodge Mellis. These drivers, they are hungry and they want to win. Drivers now finish the sighting lap, go on to the official formation lap. 7 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. So it'll be under full course yellow conditions. Drivers will be instructed to slow and then get into position ahead of this race. After this, we'll have 3 more to go, whereby we'll then conclude the day's racing here at Kandava. Then tomorrow morning from 10 past 10 tomorrow local time, Chris Buxton will take you all through the action as it happens here 90 kilometers west of the capital city of Riga. So Janowskis and Birstins will be the drivers that will control the pace. They've got to get into formation. They've gone past effectively. They will do now. Go past the point of no return. Weaving from side to side, checking the steering. So now Birstins has to get alongside Janowskis and does so now. Behind him slots in Vilkans. Then Vargas needs to get through on the inside of the 477 from RM Latvia. So this is going to be a good way for the DD2 drivers to kickstart their season, but everything's got to be in order. Into the tram lines. Here we go. Revs rise. Are we green? Yes, we are. And a good start from Janowskis. Birstins trying to go around the outside, but oh dearie me, that was a bit messy going through turn 1. Marshall running to the scene. Oh, and that is Patrick Snolls Lochmelis's car up and over on its roof. He was very lucky indeed. Very lucky indeed. So that'll be 2. But I don't know how Lochmelis got away with that one. Meantime, the battle continues at the front end of the field. Janowskis leads, Vargas follows in second. Third it's Vilkans. Fourth it's Birstins, who dives up the inside at turn 1. Gets through, well it wasn't on Birstins, it was Danebergs. Danebergs had got past them. And now the 2-speed gearbox class roars in. So Janowskis Continues to lead the way, but not by much. This is going to be a close fought affair. The top 7 after the opening lap were covered by just under 1.9 seconds. And now, Birsins sizing up a move. And it's going to go for second up the inside of Vargas at turn 1. Birs completely committed and did not hesitate. That is Birsins, new fastest lap of the race, 42.533. 15.7 seconds behind the race leader Janowskis, but now Janowskis has to have his head on a swivel. Birsins is closing at a rate of knots. Looks over his left shoulder, does the 411. Daneberg's now closing in on Vargas, has got Vilkans in tow. Vilkans, new fastest lap, 42.449 for the 477. Birsins, however, has got that gap down. It's less than 3.5 tenths. It's more like 2 at the moment as they make their way up the incline again through the 90 right into the left and sweeper with the adverse camber to the left. And now Birsins is going to launch it out of this final corner. And now is he going to try for the move into turn 1? Not quite. There's still 4 minutes on the timer plus an additional lap for him to really pick his spot, and it could happen sooner rather than later. Ties up the inside, and that's him past Janowskis, and that's for the race lead. Great work there by Birsins. In a DD2 race, anything can happen. We've seen Loch Mellis on his roof. I think that cart's too badly damaged for him to continue, so I would think he's probably parked it. And look at the top 5, covered by just under 1.2 seconds after what will now be nearly 5 laps. Birsins now leads ahead of Janowskis. Birsins' new fastest lap. Vilkans dives up the inside of Daneberg through at T1. That's the change for 4th. Birsins 2.292. Janowskis 2 tenths behind. His best effort so far, 42.497. Sounded like someone's front bumper was scraping on the ground. That may not necessarily mean that the clips are out or out of position. Vilkans and Danebergs have got to start chasing the 3 in front. They are losing time at the minute. Birsins now crosses the line. 0.372 is his advantage. And he's just put in another new fast lap. 41.146 for Birsins. Janowskis 42.322. Vargas mid 42.4. Pace 40 mid to high 42.5s. Daneberg's a 42.8. Yeah, there's struggles at the moment. These Sodi carts not really possibly being that conducive to the hotter temperatures. But Birsins leads the way, expands the lead to nearly half a second with 2 minutes to go. Oh, that was a bit wayward on the back axle. Back into the right hand side and then whoops. The 2 Sodi carts, inter-Sodi battle. Birsins takes a look over the left shoulder to see where Janowskis is, and the speed they're carrying through this part of the circuit is just absolutely phenomenal. The cart just grips, and Janowskis trying to close in that gap on Birsins once again. The gap is under 4.5 tenths. Still every possibility that Janowskis could pull something magic out of the bag, but that's easier said than done. Birsins still trying to push the envelope of adhesion as we're coming down to the final 50 seconds of this race. So we are going to have 2 more laps to go, the way things stand. So 2 to go. Birsins, well, actually 2 to go. Birsins still has a lead, 0.43 of a second. And Janoskis has gone fractionally quicker than the race leader, but not by much, by 4 1/1000ths. That's nothing, that's infinitesimal. Begvaligus is just at a high 42.1. Vilkins. So Sean Semis and Lochmelis out of the race early. Lochmelis on his roof off of turn 2. That was a horrifying sight, but I'm so glad that he wasn't underneath that cart when it flipped. Might have just launched him out of it. Final lap underway, and Birsins has nearly a half-second advantage over Janoskis. Vilkans now starting to pull away from Dennebergs. Gap between them is less than 0.4 of a second. But Thomas Birsins started from the outside of the front row. One of the places that you might consider you're not to be an overtaking opportunity, but it's the way to get off on the right foot and get your campaign started to compete for Team Latvia at Sarno this year. Out of the final corner, Birsins does the business here in heat number 1 and wins, and it's by just 0.6 of a second after 11 laps. Martin Janoskis takes P2. Nikas Vigvargas, 3rd and fastest lap of So 3 more heats to conclude the day. Up next, it's DD2 Masters. After this, we'll have Amateur DD2, DD2 Masters and DD2 Heavy before Tillotson T4 close out day 1 of the season. Let's take you through the starting grid for our DD2 Masters opening heat. 8 drivers in competition. Carlos Gargalis leads from pole position. He'll be joined by AGS Racing's Pritsai alongside on the front row. .520 will be joined by the 515 of Martin Sorolis. Juris Solaitis and Maxim Shaposhnikov rounds out the 8-strong grid. So good to see that some of the drivers, we want to make sure you know who they are. And there has been a request by the organisation for drivers to send in their photos. Again, it's going to be 7 minutes plus. Well, if anyone might remember Madonna last year, I do. Let's just say that Rickard's Kalmseems needs to get his season off to a good start. Does not need to have any drivers. But these drivers might be the eldest on the grid in terms of their age, but they are still as hungry as anybody else to go for the win. So, 7 minutes on the timer. This could be one to remember at the beginning of this season. Gargalis and Sai on the front row. They make their way through the final left-hander before the right-hander that takes them onto the start-finish straight. As we are set and ready for Heat 1 of DD2 Masters. Out of the final corner they go. They split, head into the tram lines. Revs rise. Are we green? Yes, we are. And a good start by Gargalis, who closes off the door, but Kalmseems right up the inside of Plitsai, goes very, very wide coming out of turn number 1. And Plitsai, Nicholas Mazinas going through into 3, now out of 4 and into was the next out. Kalmseems, great move there by the Estonian, but Kalmseems pounces straight back up the inside into the next right. What's going to happen here? Oh, moment there for Plitsai. And this is going to allow Nicholas Mazinas to get through. Great job by the Lithuanian as Plitsai hemorrhages places and drops down to P5. And that's after the opening lap. Gargalis has a lead of 1.18 seconds. Another mistake from Plitsai. Just very, very difficult on this tight, just 1,000 metre circuit to really, really make it stick. And Plitsai has just made times through no fault of his own, but sometimes it will be the case that when you're pushed into a corner, instantly you get your back up, and that's exactly what's happened with Plitsai. Calm down a little bit, cool the adrenaline, and just refocus, and just go, right, let's start picking off drivers one at a time. But with these quick-fire, rapid-style heats, it's not going to be easy. But Sai up the inside of Ivars Us through turn 1, so that is a change for 4th place, so the 5-1 for that place. And Ivars Us now has Martin Zrolis in the 5-1-5 for 7th, so there's been a change at the back end of the field. Gargalis in the meantime has a 1.5 second lead, but Kalmseems dueling. Oh dearie me, these two are like magnets at the moment. Mazinas and Kalmseems battling over 2nd place, and whilst they're doing that, Gargalis has got a lead of 1.7 seconds after the opening 3 laps. Fastest lap of the race, no surprise there, 43.097. To town and start pushing like crazy, but you know at least you're in the limits of, within the limits of adhesion, rather than overstepping those boundaries. Through into the cambered left-hander. That brings them through into the right, onto the start-finish straight again. Another lap in the books. Lap 4 completed, lap 5 underway. The lead now, nearly 1.9 seconds. What's more, Plitsai coming back into the race for 2nd place. Swarby all over the back bumper, up the inside he goes, up a bit of a hip check between him and Mazinas, and now that brings Founder down the short chute here into the left that takes them into the 90 right for the climb up the hill again. It's a very, very short circuit here at Kandava. And now Plitsai dives up the inside, clean as you like, through that penultimate corner. Uses the camber, uses the room, takes complete advantage of the fact that Nicholas Mazinas opened the doors. And Plitsai is now the fastest out there, 42.775 with the 519 for Estonia. has nothing really to worry about. He's 2.5 seconds up the road, and that gap has increased lap by lap, sector by sector. Count seems holding on to second for the moment, but with 2 minutes and 45 plus an additional lap still remaining. How long will it be before either he blinks or Sai pulls the trigger? Well, it's the latter up the inside. Oh, and he mounts the back of him and into the barriers, and there's a gesticulation. Oh, that was going to end in tears, and it just did so. Sai went up the in. Sai was in front. Sai tried to turn into turn 2, went left. The Count Seams went straight over the back of him, was launched over Sai completely, and then takes out the plastic barriers and knocks them over like Skittles. What was that done? Well, that means that Nicolas Mazinas is currently in second position, behind Garcalis. The lead now has expanded to a whopping 4.2 seconds. Ivars Us in P3, Rolex, Voshnikov. As Count seems, I think Sai was trying to cover him off, and then, well, Count seems just went all guns blazing, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that you don't like to see. But a big thank you to the marshalling crew as always for their help and assistance in keeping these races going. But that is the 508. Carlos Garcalis doing fastest lap if you can, and pull away, and he's pulled away to nearly the tune of 4.5 seconds as we head into the final 40 plus an additional lap of this first heat. But 2 laps remain in what has been a very, very heavily charged DD2 Masters opening heat of the weekend and of the season. So timer is about to hit 0. There it goes. Next time around, but hello, it will be the final lap of this race. Final lap is underway, and the lead between Garcalis and Mazinas, 4.5 seconds. Ivarzus just keeping with Mazinas. That's a good strategy call by the 520 running with RM Latvia. But Garcalis has done the job that's been expected. Led every single lap, has got the fastest lap of the process, and has won by a commanding margin. However, the battle for P2 could be decided very shortly on the last corner. Ivarzus closing in on Nicolas Mazinas. Garcalis takes the win. Mazinas will edge out Uz for second. So Garcalis takes the win by a whopping commanding margin. Ivarzus takes third. Martin Soros, Jerusalaitis, Maxim finished. Garcalis winning by nearly 5 seconds. So 2 more races to go. Garcalis takes the win. There are your provisional results. I have also received a notification that a steward's call has been made for Sai and Counseam's post-race. But next up, folks, we head to our penultimate race of the day. It's amateur DD2, DD2 Masters, and DD2 Heavy very shortly. So, time for our penultimate race, and it is of day one of the season. It's the amateur DD2 Heavy. Also with that, just waiting, just trying to get the starting grid up at the moment. Rodrigo Frams, Roman Spadans, Edmund Zuskiewicz, Markus Spikis, Edis Os, amongst others. So we will have a race on our hands again, 7 minutes plus an additional lap. I'm just trying to see if I can get the live timing on my phone working at the moment, but at the minute it's not quite happening, so please bear with me. There we go. Well, it should be Rodrigo Frams, Roman Spadans, Edmund Zuskiewicz, Markus Spikis, Edis Os, Martin Spikis, Kristaps Kaliksons, Maris Lochmelis, and Dimitris Antunovics. But this is going to be a case of getting yourself into position. If anyone might remember Jelgava last year, and I know Edgar's will side with me on this, because he's probably nodding his head right now, that we had about 8 full starts until we got it right for one of the races last year at the season finale. However, it is going to be the case. We're seeing how this one pans out over 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Of course, these drivers make up part of the Latvian Karting Cup and also Latvian Championship for 2024, which will only take place over 5 rounds this season. Into the tram lines we go. So, revs rise. Are we green? Yes, we are. Let's see how this first race pans out. And it's going to be very, very close going into turns 1 and 2. 2x2 nose arc style hurrah through turn 2. Wide and a big go there for the 551 of Zuskiewicz. And was that Spikit, Markus Spikis, that went off? I think that might have been. There was 3 wide contact, and the driver on the right got exited out stage right. Probably ended up with a bent axle. That was the Sodi car on the right hand side. So 1 casualty already after just a handful of corners. Leading after the opening lap is Roman Spadans, Rodrigo Frams, Martin Spikis, then Os in the 588 rounds out the top 4, and it was, oh, that's a real shame, early doors. Not even 1 completed lap for the 523. Edmonds has carried on. But the big thing was, it was a bit of a hit. It was rear tyre versus rear tyre, and what can sometimes happen with that is, with excessive contact, that means that the back axle can be bent. However, at the front end of the field, Roman Spadans and Rodrigo Frams are battling tooth and nail over the race lead. The gap was over 6 tenths, it's now a 1/10 and a half. Spadans did have the fastest lap, but Rodrigo Frams just put in a 44.0 and now dives up the inside with a Birolart chassis with the old school front fairing, I might add. Just literally sent it like you meant it and got through all balance before the 21, and now might start to pull away. Martin Spikis rounds out second. Edzos, Kristaps Kaliksons, Dimitris Antunovics round out the top 6. Antunovics actually was at the back end of the field. Mai has his fortunes changed. And now the lead has gone from 1.5 tenths behind to nearly 6.5 tenths in front. That is an 8-tenth differential swing in terms of time. And Rodrigo Frams, well, that was nearly. Well, that was a pretty good lap on that particular occasion. So now it is going to be the case of how these drivers carry on. A little bit further back, a little battle here between the 505 and the 516. That's Dimitris Antunovics and Marcis Trancales. So holds station in 6th place. Trancales is getting closer and closer, but we're past the halfway point in this race. More to the point, well, Frams is leading and Badams just lost a big chunk of time. Well, Rodrigo Frams now has a lead of nearly 1.6 seconds as Trancales goes up the inside for 6th place at the left-hander at turn 1. Great job there by the driver on the third place, 4th and 5th, covered by about 1.7 seconds at this particular juncture. But now Badans is trying to close that gap. He's got it down to just under 1.4. Martin Spikis a further 4.4 seconds behind in 3rd place and is being chased down by number 5. Badans might try and see if he can close that gap. It might be a bit of a tall order though, with coming up to 2 minutes plus that last lap. So Frams leads after 7 laps of racing. The gap now is nearly 1.5 seconds. To the last minute and 20, and Frams still has a lead. 1.5 seconds is the advantage. Could that be further expanded over the next couple of laps? Well, they do say that the proof is in the pudding. We're going to find out very, very shortly as Frams crosses the line. Padans 1.35, gaps coming down. So we are coming down to the last lap and a bit of this race, and Frams has really been doing a great job at the sharper end of the field. However, it is getting very, very close between a couple of the drivers, and those are the 2 Sodi karts, one of which being Spikis, the other one being Os. And the final lap is to get past Martin Spikis. However, Rodrigo Frams is going to come over the crest, go down into the cambered left-hander. Whilst this battle for third place still wages on, Rodrigo Frams picks up the win in this opening heats of the weekend and of the season, winning by nearly 1.8 seconds. Martin Spikis will hold on for P3 ahead of Azos in the number 588. Christoph Skalliksons finishes 12.6 seconds behind the leader and takes P5. Dimitris Antunovics from the back of the field to finish in 6th ahead of Maris Lochmelis, with Edmunds Suzovics with Marcis Trankalis 9th, and Marcos Spikis unfortunately out on the opening lap, coming through into turn number 4. Well, folks, we've got one more race to go tonight, and that is Tillotson T4 Heat 1. Well, there you see the 523. That's going to need some repair time this evening, I'm afraid, for Marcus Spikis. Could be the fact that maybe the back axle might be bent after that contact. There's also Trankalis, who must have had a technical DNF this time around. So there is going to be a little bit of a clean-up action on the circuit here at Kandava. A big thank you to everyone that has been with us so far, all the way through the live stream coverage. Apologies for the for my microphone. I am using a compression headset, but of course we've tried to make sure that we can get the action covered for you all to watch back completely free of charge here on the Rotax Max Latvia YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so whenever we go live this year, you will see every single second of the action as it happens live direct from the circuit. So the green flag waves to the final time here on the 24th of May for the opening round and the opening day of RMC Latvia 2024. Let's have a look at the grid for 4. Heat 1 on pole position, Christopher Skalner with Daniels Petris Beresins alongside on the front row. Elisabetta Johan Zolce and by Harris Gladkin, row 2, David Salmans and Rudolf Toms. The 8 competitors. Of course, don't forget to join us just before 10 past 10 local time here in Latvia tomorrow morning for day 2 of round 1 of the season. For the second round of the championship heads to Smeltene. So, the Tillotson T4, 4-stroke, 225 cc's, great equipment to race on. I have to give a shout out to my good friend Jake Sanson, who's also competed on some of these. Also, Ty Cuthbert, a young man from the United Kingdom, who's a big Checo Perez fan. Also has had quite a few successes on Tillotson T4 Junior within championships in the UK. So, just like everybody else, this is going to be a rolling start. So, Christopher Skalner on pole position. Beresins alongside on the front row. Looks like we've only got 7 out of 8. However, we're going to go racing. Are we green? Yes, we are. Let's see who gets the first corner first. And it looks to be that Beresins going around the outside runs very off track and starts rally crossing. Oh, dearie, dearie me. So that just goes to show that you can be a bit robust on that front. But Christopher Skalner is not going to let that one slide. And then Beresins says, right, let's just get away. You know what it's like? B3. Had a wonderful chat with Davis last year at Jelgava at the season finale. The beautiful thing about Tillotson T4 is it's an enticing package, whether a junior or a senior driver or someone who wants to do this for more fun. Oh, mistake there from Beresins, and again goes off coming out of turn 1. Christopher Skalner gets through and retakes the race lead, having lost it on the opening corner because someone nearly took the kind of a joker lap through turn 1. It was tarmac, runoff area, and then stop. Behind this battling duo. However, I think in the next couple of laps or so, maybe give it the next couple of minutes, depending on how overzealous Beresins might be to try and get past Skalner for the race lead. It's been a shame for Elisabetta Zolce in 8th place. She's all the way, she was starting up in 3rd and now she's all the way down at the back end of the field. These two seem to be pulling away. They might have the opportunity of just having a race to them, themselves. But Skalner looks to be pulling away ever so slightly. 4 minutes and 53 seconds plus an additional lap on the timer. Still to go in this first heat. Of course, we'll have the Heat 2 pre-finals and finals tomorrow. And Beresins, getting a bit racy now, is the 919. Staying in the wheel tracks of the race leader. So out of the final corner, across the line, another lap in the books. And Skalner does have the fastest lap of the race. Or it might be the fact that it's gone to Beresins. Beresins has got the fastest lap of the race and still putting Skalner under pressure for the race lead. and Zalmans can get a little bit hot and heated under the collar. They both ran wide coming out of that left-hander. Karner more than Berezins as they go into the 90 left. Oh, that's a bit close. It's like bump drafting for karting. It's exactly what's happening at the moment. Berezins is not giving Karner room to breathe at all, and this could play nicely into Zalman's hands. Over the line, lap 4 completed. Half time in the race now, 0.13 separates the top two. Zalman is actually not on the same pace. He's actually about four tenths off. There goes Berezins up the inside at turn 3. And again, just signalling to Karner whilst battling. Both hands on the wheel, sir. That's all I have to say on that one. It's odd. Yeah, let's just keep away from Zalmans. Zalmans was the tour de force in Tillotson T4 Latvia last year. And it was a battle between him and Elisabetta Zorce for the opportunity to go to the Nations Cup late last year. But now, could this be the opportunity that Berezins has been looking for to get past Karner and then to pull away? Sometimes it's easier said than done. Gap now between second and third is cool. That's mighty. That's 2.8 seconds. Distinct from these 225cc four-stroke engines. Also, congratulations on the special liveried 1000th Tillotson T4 kart to the team based over in Ireland. Nice little gesture courtesy of IPK Praga for that one. But Karner still keeping Berezins very, very honest. We're into the final 2 minutes. They have just been literally pulling away from Zalmans, who is now 3.3 seconds off of second place. Zalmans has been improving his pace, but when the leaders are running, mid 49.7 for the race. Zalmans, his best effort in this has been a mid 50.2. He has got a little bit of breathing space between himself and Haris Gladkins. But now, this is going to be closed. This is for Rudolf Toms Berezins and Oris Maris Rivalds. So 9.09 versus 9.63, less than a minute to go. They've got, I think that's Stacha Grossberger just behind in the 9.29. Yes, it is. So this is the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Gladkins up the road. I'm not having to worry about it really. Bit overzealous with an overtake and decide not to hit their braking point. But Berezins, or Daniels Petris Berezins leads the way and has got a 0.5 of a second advantage going on to the penultimate lap of the race day. And still this battle for P5, 6 and 7 covered by what? 0.6? Well, this is going to go down to the wire. But it's mainly going to be between Berezins and Revalds in 5th and 6th respectively. But next time around it's going to be the final lap of this first heat, the Tillotson T4, but it'll also signal the final lap of the opening day of competition for the 2024 Rotax Max Challenge Latvia, Tillotson T4 Latvia seasons respectively. Final lap underway. Karner now closing in to Berezins at the front end, and it was a 49.541 by Christopher Karner. as Daniels Petris Beresins looks like and it is just a handful of corners to go. And the 919 Daniels Petris Beresins, even with a robust round the outside move that took more than just track limits into it of the equation, will come out of the final corner. Beresins wins Heat 1 for Tillotson T4, head of Christopher's Kalnit. David Salmans will cross the line in P3. Of course, all these results called by myself today are provisional pending any sporting checks for those that have got the Sportity app. Don't forget to put in RML 2024 as the event, and that will bring you up all the information. That'll be for future events as well. But Daniels Petris Beresins takes the win by just over 0.6 of a second ahead of Christopher Skalny. David Salmans rounding out the top three. Haris Gladkins, Rudolfsson Beresins, Oris Maris Revalds, Dacia Grosberger and Elisabetta Johanssonce round out the 8-strong grid, concluding what has been an interesting, fast-paced and full-throttle day, the first day of the season opener of the 2024 Rotax Max Challenge Latvia season here at Kandava, just 90 kilometers west of the capital city of Riga. Well, folks, that wraps up our on-track coverage for today, but join Chris Buxton from just after 10 o'clock tomorrow morning Latvian time, where he will take you through the heats, Heat 2 for all classes, the pre-finals and the finals. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and until then, ciao for now.